Hello, and welcome to today's webinar, Supporting Students in a Digital World, How School-Based Professionals Can Prevent and Respond to Technology-Facilitated Abuse. To get us started, I'd like to welcome Mr. Kevin Malone, Senior Advisor on Human Trafficking at the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, to provide opening remarks. Mr. Malone?
Thank you, Samantha. Hello to everyone, and thank you for joining us for this very important discussion. Technology is a significant part of young people's lives. It helps students learn, connect, and explore their interests, but it can also create real risk, especially when technology is used to harm, control, or exploit someone. Students of all ages can experience technology-facilitated abuse, or TFA. That can include cyberbullying, harassment, grooming, sextortion, and the non-consensual sharing of private images or messages. Technology can also be used for recruitment and exploitation connected to human trafficking. These harms can happen through social media, texting, gaming, platforms, and other online spaces. We also know online harm is often underreported and not identified. Students may feel embarrassed, afraid of getting in trouble, worried about losing their devices, or scared of retaliation. Some may not have the words to describe what's happening, and as a result, too many young people go without support. In 2024, a study was done. 1 in 17 children reported having personally experienced sextortion. That is a serious concern. When you think about how many students you see in a day, it's likely this is already affecting students in your school. This work will take all of us. At the Department of Health and Human Services, we are working to prevent and address these harms head on. The Trump administration has made this issue a priority, a top priority. Following up from the president signing the Take It Down Act last year, we have been working across sectors to strengthen prevention, improve awareness, and connect young people to support. School-based professionals, people like you, play a critical role in prevention and response. You build trusted relationships. You help students feel safe. You notice changes in behavior, attendance, mood, or peer dynamics. And you can connect students to help early before harm escalates. You don't have to be an expert in every app or platform. What matters most is how we respond. We listen without judgment. We take concerns seriously. We avoid blame, and we follow our school's policies and reporting procedures. Today's webinar is designed to offer practical strategies you can use right away so you can recognize early warning signs, you can respond effectively, and promote digital safety and accountability. Together, we can create safer communities on and offline and ensure students get the support that they need to thrive. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Malone. This webinar contains discussions of sensitive topics, including sexual, physical, psychological violence, and child abuse. So please take care of your well-being. If you or someone you know needs support, contact the National Human Trafficking Hotline or NCMEC Cyber Tip Line. Without further delay, let's meet today's presenters. We're going to start off with Charisma. Hi, Charisma. Charisma de los Reyes is a seasoned social work practitioner. She has developed and delivered training for educators and service providers with a focus on recognizing and responding to child exploitation and supporting at-risk youth through cross-sector collaboration. Thank you, Charisma. Donna Brailsford has worked in education for over 30 years. Her work includes supporting schools and communities with the implementation of youth development initiatives that focus on prevention, identification and intervention specific to child welfare, suicide, crisis management, safety, and human trafficking. Although much of her work is currently with district and school leadership, her passion lies with student leadership and peer education. Thank you, Donna. Sarah Mauser. Sarah Mauser provides education and outreach and engages in strategic partnerships to advance child trafficking prevention. She brings prior experience as both an educator and administrator, and for the past 7.5 years has worked in child safety, specializing in curriculum development, prevention education, and school system engagement to support providers in responding to youth needs. Thank you, Sarah. Elliston. Elliston Berry is a lived experience consultant on raising awareness and advocating for strong legislature. Experiencing victimization at just 14 years old, Elliston has fought for protecting children and being recognized in the 2025 Times 100 Next list and as one of Time's 100 most influential people in AI. Thank you, Elliston. Anna. Anna McAdams is Elliston's mother. She helped to create and advocate for what is now the Take It Down Act. She contributes to spreading awareness and encouraging education to help families fight technology-facilitated abuse. Thank you, Anna. We will now turn it over to Elliston to get the presentation started. So Elliston, we're gonna bring you up now and we're ready for you. It's all yours.
To begin, today, many children and teens have access to devices with internet capabilities, and they are more connected than ever as we explore learning, socializing, and finding entertainment online. Technology can offer valuable tools and educational opportunities that foster creativity, build social skills, enhance family and peer connections, and even support academic success. However, children and youth have a constant access to information that can create a pressure to keep up with the latest popular trends and can appeal their desire to fit in. This leads them to use social media to communicate with each other and find information or stay informed about trends. Some popular apps even have versions specifically designed for younger children. As digital content becomes a constant part of children's youth's everyday lives, frequent online use and interactions can feel normal and routine. This comfort can easily and gradually expand children's youth and exposure to less restricted, harmful content and more sophisticated apps and websites, without adults understanding how children and youth may be using technology and setting parameters to create a balanced, safe, and healthy digital practices. Youth may be exposed to harm, bullying, peer pressure, harassment, and technology-facilitated abuse. Here, we see several common digital activities that children and youth may engage in. I'll pass it on to Sarah.
Thanks, Ellison. Understanding what technology-facilitated abuse is helps us recognize signs, prevent harm, and increase our ability to respond quickly. Let's dive into what technology-facilitated abuse is. Technology-facilitated abuse, also known as TFA, is the use of technology to violate an individual's privacy and cause them emotional, physical, or social harm. This harm could occur exclusively through technology. However, sometimes the technology is used to amplify harms that occur offline. For example, someone experiencing bullying in a school setting may also experience an extension of this bullying on their social media. Or someone experiencing sexual abuse may also have their sexual abuse documented through photos or videos, materials that may be shared with others. TFA can happen to any child who has access to technology. Since technology is constantly evolving and is still a new space for many young people, perpetrators can easily manipulate and groom them. To better understand the prevalence of technology-facilitated abuse against children and youth, let's take a look at the data released by the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, NCMEC, based on reports made to the Cyber Tip Line. Here we see a comparison of crimes targeting children, including online enticement, use of artificial intelligence, and child sex trafficking from January to June 2024 compared to January to June 2025. In each category, we see significant increases for reports related to various types of technology-facilitated abuse against children. Let's first take a look at online enticement. This is when someone communicates with a child via the internet with the intent to commit a sexual offense or abduction. The next line pertains to sadistic online enticement, which reports more than doubling during the indicated time frame. Sadistic online enticement is when someone builds a relationship with a child with the intention of forcing them to record or live stream acts of self-harm, harm of others, or harm of animals. Financial sextortion is when the predator financially extorts or blackmails a child for money to prevent them from sharing their images online. The most notable increase seen within this category is with generative artificial intelligence. Instead of blackmailing children for sexual content, offenders can now use generative AI tools to create explicit images using non-explicit, publicly available images. Lastly, we see reports related to child sex trafficking, which is when a child exchanges or is asked to exchange sex for something of value, such as money, food, or shelter. These numbers show a significant spike in the use of technology to facilitate harm against children and youth, demonstrating the need to stay informed and consider evolving strategies for protection. Let's spend a few minutes exploring in greater depths some of the forms of technology-facilitated abuse and how they might show up in schools. Technology-facilitated abuse is rarely a single behavior. It typically involves a pattern of repeated or escalating behaviors. It can look like cyberbullying, digital harassment, and group chat harassment. Cyberbullying and digital harassment happen when a young person receives repeated mean, threatening, or humiliating messages via text, group chats, gaming platforms, or social media. Group chat harassment occurs when students are excluded from online groups or when herd mentality lead multiple people to alienate, mock, or threaten a single person. Online grooming. Online grooming may begin with attention or emotional support through online games or social media. Perpetrators often leverage the anonymity benefits of games, social media, or chat applications to build trust over time. These individuals gradually test boundaries by starting with compliments and then encouraging secrecy, and eventually escalating to sexualized requests for images, human trafficking, and other forms of abuse. Sextortion. Similar to financial sextortion, which we discussed earlier, students may also experience pressure or receive threats to expose private images unless they comply with other demands, such as more images, silence, or a continued relationship. Non-consensual sharing of images. Some images are meant to be private, but are shared more broadly without consent. Non-consensual sharing of images can also include the use of images and video taken without knowledge or adapted images and videos generated through the use of artificial intelligence. These next few forms of technology-facilitated abuse are just as common as those we just reviewed, but they're often less immediately recognized, and sometimes they're more disruptive in schools. Impersonation and account hijacking. Someone pretends to be a student online by creating a fake account or taking over the student's real account. Harmful messages may be sent in the student's name, making it appear that the student caused the conflict when they did not. Next is coercive control through technology. This is especially common in peer-to-peer interactions or dating relationships, and this always isn't aggressively overt. It can also include constantly monitoring a location or pressuring to share passwords, demanding immediate responses, or using technology to isolate someone from their friends. For students, this can feel like normal relationship behavior, but the behavior is ultimately designed to control them. And finally, doxing and privacy violations. This involves sharing or threatening to share private information and violating someone's privacy. Personal information may include things like addresses, phone numbers, or family details. Even when nothing happens afterwards, the fear alone can significantly affect a student's sense of safety, both at school and at home. What's really important to notice across all of these is that technology is being used to harm or to amplify the harm. The use of technology increases reach, speed, and permanence, and it often leaves students feeling exposed, powerless, and unsure who to trust. These forms of abuse don't always seem significant, but they can be deeply harmful and traumatizing. Many of these behaviors don't immediately register as abuse to students or adults, and they're often dismissed as like peer-to-peer conflict or isolated mistakes rather than a harmful pattern. These experiences have real emotional and academic impacts, and they often show up in a classroom as anxiety, withdrawal, disengagement, and behavioral changes. How adults respond, provide support, and intervene really matters. Let's look at a few scenarios. These scenarios are intentionally simple and familiar. In real life, multiple forms of technology-facilitated abuse often overlap. So I want you to read each scenario and consider which type of technology-facilitated abuse is occurring and match it to one of the options provided. The goal here isn't to label it perfectly. It's to recognize when online behavior may cause harm that shows up in school. Okay, scenario 1. A student experiences ongoing harassment through group chats and social media, including name calling and rumors that continue outside of school hours but affect relationships at school. What type of TFA is this? The answer is D, cyberbullying and digital harassment. Let's go to scenario number 2. A student reports that someone created a social media account using their name and photo. Messages were sent to classmates that caused conflict, and teachers believe the student was responsible for causing that conflict. What type of TFA is this? This is that impersonation and account hijacking. Scenario 3. A student becomes withdrawn and anxious after receiving repeated messages from someone that they met online. The messages become increasingly personal, and the student is asked to keep the relationship a secret. What type of TFA is this? This is online grooming, A. And scenario 4. A student is pressured to send images and is later threatened that those images will be shared with peers or posted online if they do not comply with further demands. What type of TFA is this? This is B, sextortion or coercion. This slide is important because it reframes how trafficking often develops for school-aged youth. A middle school student receives frequent messages from someone they don't know and they met online. They enjoy the support that they feel from this person, especially since they don't have that many friends at school. After a few weeks of conversation, the online friend tells the student that they don't want anyone to come between them and asks the student to keep their conversations private. As the relationship grows stronger, the individual requests photos and the student shares more intimate details about their life. The online friend asks the student to live stream, and when the student says that they do not feel comfortable, the person threatens to share private information and messages and images with the student's peers and school staff. In the classroom, teachers are noticing that the student is increasingly anxious and no longer participating in the class. The student is often missing classes and not tracking when assignments are due. These are common signals for many potential scenarios, and TFA may not be the first thing that comes to mind as the cause. School staff often notice changes in attendance and behavior or peer conflict without realizing the pressure and control are being driven through technology. The student is complying with the request to avoid exposure or retaliation. This scenario shows how technology-facilitated abuse can create vulnerability before trafficking is ever recognized. The harm does not start with force. It starts with isolation, secrecy, and pressure. The person causing the harm may be a stranger, or a peer, or a known individual, and the abuse may be invisible to adults. Schools often encounter the impact, which is behavior changes, conflict, academic decline, before they ever actually see the cause. We tend to imagine trafficking as a sudden or extreme event, which in reality, it's usually a process. It can often begin with technology-facilitated harm that tends to be downplayed or overlooked, such as cyberbullying, online grooming, coercive relationships, or pressure to share private images or videos. Online harm creates vulnerabilities. When students experience cyberbullying, grooming, and digital harassment, they may feel isolated, ashamed, or emotionally dependent, making outside attention feel really powerful. Abuse establishes power and control. The abuser establishes control, normalizes secrecy, and introduces threats, both explicit or implied. For the person experiencing this abuse, compliance becomes a way to prevent harm or exposure. Technology enables escalation. Sextortion, impersonation, and off-platform messaging intensify pressure, and reduce visibility. Technology gives an abuser the ability to escalate their behavior quickly and can heighten a student's fear of reputational harm at school or at home. The youth may feel pressure to comply. Fear, emotional dependence, or reputational threats drive continued compliance. And importantly, young people may not recognize what they're experiencing as trafficking or abuse. To them, it may feel like survival, like managing a situation that just feels beyond their control. That's why early, calm, non-punitive prevention and intervention strategies matter so much. When schools respond early, they can interrupt that pathway before exploitation really escalates. Now I'm going to turn it over to Anna and Elliston to share some more about that kind of prevention.
As Sarah mentioned, when schools respond early, we can prevent and mitigate harm. In our experience, some of the biggest gaps in preventing technology-facilitated abuse in schools are the lack of awareness and the absence of policy and procedures to address the occurrence. We see challenges with school administrators being unwilling to address the subject for many reasons, including it's an uncomfortable topic, a lack of understanding or training, unclear about their roles in things that happen online and outside of school, competing priorities, and a lack of clear guidance. I'll pass it back to Elliston.
Truthfully, one conversation can save a life. There needs to be more awareness, conversation, and education within every school. It is important to teach children and teens critical thinking skills, clear, concise, and developmentally appropriate definitions of what TFA is and its impact, how to recognize warning signs, strategies to navigate online interactions, and ways to assert boundaries and seek help if TFA happens to them. Promoting digital safety and responsible behavior should be proactive, not reactive. I'll let Sarah continue on.
Thanks, Elliston. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about digital safety as a protective factor, one that supports prevention and helps students know when and how to reach out for help. So digital safety is a foundational skill that supports student well-being. Many technology-facilitated harms can be really confusing. They can encourage secrecy or share really inaccurate information. Schools can help reduce risk by reinforcing clear, age-appropriate messages, and even brief, consistent conversations can make it easier for students to really seek help. Here are 3 digital safety actions that schools can start today. Normalize talking about online harm. Let students know that they can talk to a trusted adult about online issues without the fear of punishment. Reinforce that abuse, including non-consensual sharing of images and other content, is not the student's fault. Students are way more likely to disclose early before harm escalates. Watch for digital red flags showing up at school. Sudden behavior changes, anxiety and withdrawal, conflict with peers, fear of getting in trouble for something online, repeated requests to use devices privately, or distress linked to receiving messages. Online harm often shows up first as school-based behavioral or emotional changes. And lastly, reinforce one clear safety message. If something online feels confusing, uncomfortable, or scary, talk to a trusted adult. Repeat this message consistently across staff and settings. Simple, repeated messaging helps students know when and how to seek help. These actions don't require new technology or new curriculum or all staff becoming digital experts. They build on what schools already do best, creating safe relationships, noticing changes in students, and responding supportively. A digital safety plan, also known as a technology safety plan, is a tool that can be used to support children and youth in exploring safety and privacy and identifying help-seeking strategies. An example of a plan can be seen here. It's important to work with children and youth to identify situations that may make them feel unsafe, confused, or uncomfortable when they are navigating online situations, and identify strategies for coping, as well as informal and formal supports to turn to should they need help. You can see in the technology safety plan, it's important to address feelings and actions. What are some situations online that make youth feel unsafe, confused, or uncomfortable when it comes to their digital safety? Who are their supports going to be? Who can they turn to? Help them identify who their trusted adult is. When they're at home, when they're at school, in their community, who are those trusted adults? Lots of kids think they have a trusted adult, but then they struggle to identify who it is. Help them figure out who that person is. Give them access to resources. Help them identify those phone numbers. Who can they actually call and reach out to? Help kids think through things that can help them calm down and manage stress in the moment when things feel really overwhelming. Again, notify, these are the people that I can reach out to as my support team. These might really be specific people you have on campus to help when there might be a digital crisis or when something is going on at school specific. These are things that you can tap into that are very school specific to your community. And things I can do to increase my safety online. Oftentimes, kids just don't know what is out there, and it is our responsibility to be learning with them as they grow. Just because we are like a little bit older than them doesn't mean that we can't spend some time learning a little bit about our digital safety as well and helping them learn some tips and tricks to keep themselves safe online. Anna and Elliston, can you guys share with us some additional prevention strategies that schools can consider?
Yes, thank you, Sarah. When thinking about whom a student might turn to for help or to share experiences, it is important to recognize the role of peers. Schools can encourage peer to peer accountability by creating a culture where students feel responsible for one another and want to look out for others and intervene when safely and appropriately if needed. Some ways to encourage peer to peer accountability include peer mentoring. Students may seek help from peers before adults. Peer mentors can encourage younger students to set healthier boundaries, engage in safe online activity, and increase help seeking behavior through role plays. Peer focus. Educators may not know what their students are struggling with. Focus groups can gather information about specific platforms and pressures and situations that may be occurring and impacting students. Student-led awareness campaigns. Students may connect more strongly with posters and peers created by their peers. Ultimately, don't overlook the importance of informal friend groups. Informed friends can be a powerful resource. They often recognize the early red flags and have conversations with their friends and can interrupt any risky behaviors. Friends also need to understand that they are not responsible for the harmful behaviors, but they should feel safe sharing this information with a trusted adult, even at the risk of losing a friendship. Adults in schools need to be mindful of protecting their identity with peer disclosures whenever possible. I'll let my mom, Anna, continue.
Preventing and addressing technology-facilitated abuse requires partnership and collaboration beyond the school environment. Schools can partner with parents and caregivers for increased student support. Consider offering educational sessions on online safety for parents and caregivers. Provide a link on the school's website to resources and videos online safety, or an overview of what students are learning each month related to online safety and digital citizenship. Offering parents and caregivers a questionnaire gathering information about needs and concerns, and encouraging virtual and in-person meetings. Providing families with information about TFA and spaces for conversation not only raise awareness what it's about, but also encouraging those conversations that happen at home as well. Overall, it is important to provide families with resources that help them understand the risk and their role in prevention. The more we can encourage communication between children, caregivers, and school professionals, the more likely a child will feel comfortable in asking questions and seeking help. Donna, I'll let you talk now about interventions.
Thanks, Anna. Actually, in New York City, we do require that schools have a plan for educating staff, students, and parents, as you mentioned, in each of the sensitive topics, such as child abuse prevention, bullying, suicide, and human trafficking and exploitation. And when exploitation is suspected and contacting the parent does not create a further safety risk due to potential involvement in the exploitation, we actually ask that the counselor or social worker meet with the parent before bringing them together with the child to ensure that they know the manipulative nature of exploitation. This layer of education helps to reduce the tendency to immediately blame the child. This approach gives the parent time and the support to process feelings, possibly of guilt and shame that may arise. This also solidifies the partnership between the school staff and the parent to support the student and understand the child's needs and feelings. Overall, it is important to provide families with resources that help them understand the risks and their role in prevention. The more we can encourage communication between children, caregivers, and school professionals, the more likely a child will feel comfortable asking questions and seeking help. So, school-based professionals are uniquely positioned to support families and identify students who may be experiencing technology-facilitated abuse and intervene accordingly. Students often see school staff as a safer adult whom they can trust with information and rely on for support and protection. Unfortunately, even with this viewpoint, students may be hesitant to seek out school professionals or family members to disclose their experiences of harm or ask for help. And therefore, it is important for all of us to be aware of the warning signs. So, knowing what to look for is essential to identify warning signs early on and providing a possible opportunity to prevent or reduce harm to students. In many cases, online exploitation continues for months before anyone realizes what's happening. Seeing the sign is not enough. We need to look beneath the surface and understand and ask questions. So, the earliest indicators usually appear as changes in patterns, including shifts in behavior, interactions and attitudes, changes in attendance, and interaction with family and friends. These may include strained social, peer, and family relationships, or not wanting to interact with teachers, adult figures, or peers due to the shame and embarrassment of what they're experiencing. Withdrawal, isolation, and startled or jumpy reactions. You may notice a youth over apologizing for simple things they fear because they fear they are in trouble or they're going to get caught. Irritability, aggression, anxiety, and depression. Loss of confidence, self-harm, and suicidal ideation. Excuse me. This is a serious warning sign when the pressure from the exploitation becomes so intense that children may consider ending their lives or self-harm to cope with their experience. As mentioned earlier by Sarah, in situations of sadistic online exploitation, children are sometimes even told to harm themselves. Another sign may include increased device use, time online, and secrecy. This could include anxious attachment to electronic devices. Students may take cell phones, iPads, even laptops into the bathroom and other private areas. The student may express fear or display resistance in talking about their device use and the interactions they have online. A student may all of a sudden remove all social media platforms or peers. School staff or family members may be asked questions like, do you think AI looks real? Or can you tell if this AI photo is fake? Additionally, a student may become abnormally upset and even fearful when devices are restricted or taken away. Shifts in school attendance, performance, and participation are also common. Requests to frequently leave class might signal a problem. Daytime fatigue is another sign that is often dismissed as caused by staying up late, playing video games. Declines in school attendance, participation, and academic performance may also be early warning signs. Schools are well aware of chronic absenteeism, which they often view only in terms of its impact on learning. Chronic absence should also be seen as a possible warning sign that something is seriously wrong. In my work, we often notice students that we suspect of experiencing exploitation have shown a significant change in attendance patterns. They may have a long-standing attendance rate of 80, 90% or above that suddenly drops to 50 or 60% or less. When noticing a decline in attendance, school staff often put the pressure on the parent or caregiver to take action. We find that parents and caregivers often need additional assistance. Out of frustration or shame, parents, caregivers may disengage from school contact altogether. We want them to know we are partners, especially when we see the early warning signs of distress. Together, we can meet the needs of the student without judgment. We have had several parents come to schools because their children seem very secretive about their electronic devices. In fact, one parent noticed that their child kept the iPad near the bed at night and would even take it into the bathroom when they showered or got ready for bed. Another parent walked in on her young daughter and grabbed the iPad only to see faces of men logged in watching her child undress. Another, the child refused to go to school and never wanted to be without her device. The child would scream and yell and fight, and even had begun to self-harm when away from her device. Her therapist had diagnosed video game addiction until a classmate disclosed that they were actually in a Discord group where an adult male was threatening the children if they did not share sexually explicit pictures, recruit more friends, or do things of harm to animals or random individuals. Many of these early warning signs may seem to come on suddenly without explanation. Sometimes overhearing or listening to what students are talking about to each other can provide insight into situations someone may be experiencing. Intentionally asking what students know about online harassment and inappropriate interaction or exploitation opens the opportunity for them to teach the teacher, a very non-threatening way to get a glimpse into their experiences. Student discussions may reveal situations related to harassment, impersonation, or images or videos being shared. It may reveal someone pressuring someone else to send images or keep secrets. They may talk about gifts or money that someone has received from someone they met online. As an educator who interacts with students each day, it is easy to miss warning signs. Often, many of the warning signs may be perceived as defiance or inadequate parenting, may be blamed for the child's behaviors. This accusatory tone or disciplinary approach may create more resistance to seeking help. Consider the reasons why a student may hesitate to seek help. It may be guilt or shame. The student may feel embarrassed by what is happening or mistakenly think they should have known better. Pressure and threats to disclose what is happening only make matters worse. Fear of getting in trouble. The student may worry about being blamed and experiencing consequences such as losing their device access, losing access to friends or activities, or worry that they will get their peers into trouble. Threats of harm. The student may worry that the abuse will escalate or that they will experience retaliation for seeking help. Perceived benefits. The person causing harm may be someone the student cares about. There may be benefits to this relationship that would be lost if seeking help. Many perpetrators are taking time to get to know our students and are therefore not perceived as strangers. They are giving children praise and validation and providing them with things parents will not or cannot provide, such as maybe a new phone, clothes, or other items. Normalization. The student may feel that what they are experiencing is typical. Experiencing these actions repeatedly or seeing them happen to peers can make the actions seem normal or expected. Additionally, it is important to note perpetrators are also not always adults or significantly older. I have seen cases where middle school students are manipulated and pressured to recruit peers or younger students, which may normalize the behavior for the student or be normalized or brushed off by adults who should intervene. Distrust of adults. The students may view adults in terms of shame and punishment rather than support and validation. Students may prefer to tell their friends but swear them to secrecy so that no one gets in trouble. Relationship dynamics. There may be a power imbalance between the student and this person because of their age, their role, position, or even popularity in school. Previous negative experiences. Many times, past negative experiences with help seeking may influence future help seeking behaviors. Perhaps the student has attempted to seek advice or support from a parent or caregiver or school staff previously and didn't receive the help they needed, or their experience was minimized or brushed off. Students may also hear about others' negative experiences with service providers or even law enforcement, whether through personal contact or through the media, and think that they may not get the help available to support them. This speaks to the importance of increasing the awareness within communities and the power of partnerships, which will be discussed later in this webinar. Overall, working with students, some strategies to overcome barriers and building trust may include asking open-ended questions, seeking to learn, and really giving time to listen. When educating students in general, make it clear that exploitation is not the child's fault. Acknowledge that coercion can be confusing and threats are very scary. Help to define who a trusted adult is and how they can approach that adult to share what is troubling them. Charisma, can you share with us a little bit more about the strategies you have found effective when building trust?
If educators suspect that a student may be experiencing TFA, they should respond promptly and safely. Similarly to reporting child abuse, staff do not need proof. Noticing a meaningful shift in behavior is enough to act. Trauma-informed responses prioritizes a student's safety and well-being, and we want to be person-centered. So let's go ahead and start with the don'ts. Don't demand screenshots or proof from the student. Take the student's devices. It is also important to be aware of your district's policy on student property. Don't promise confidentiality that you can't keep. Remember that mandated reporting may require disclosure. Be upfront and transparent and practice informed consent. Don't minimize the situation, saying things like, that's just online stuff, or maybe you just need to turn off your device and disconnect for a bit. Comments like these can come off as victim blaming. And don't blame the student for what's happened. We do want to address the student's immediate needs. We want to respond calmly, be curious, show genuine concern, and convey care. Respond calmly, listen without judgment or urgency. Be aware of nonverbal or facial expressions and tone of voice. Validate their feelings, not the behavior. I'm really glad you told me. Document what you've observed and resist making assumptions. When safety concerns arise, follow your district's mandated reporting and school protocols. Connect the student and family to support. Let them know where they can find help, including counselors, administration, a liaison, victim advocates, law enforcement, or community-based providers. Support for the student is ongoing. When appropriate, let the student take the lead based on their comfort level. Co-create a check-in plan. Check-ins can address any topic like school life, classes, dances, sports, not only what occurred. It is important for children to feel like more than their trauma that they have experienced. Support for the whole child can be healing. Let's explore some trauma-informed responses that promote healing. Trauma-informed responses. We prioritize student safety and well-being. We validate feelings and commend efforts to seek help. Minimize the number of times a student has to retell a situation. That must have been really hard to find help. I'm really glad you told me. Offer education about technology-facilitated abuse. Help students understand the tactics often used to manipulate and coerce. Offer information about ways to increase safety and end contact. This is not your fault. It sounds like they were being really tricky. You are not alone in this. Thank you for trusting me. Provide supports and resources. Let the student know who you will share their information with. Offer follow-up resources and support. We can say, I want you to know whom I will share your information with and how we will get help. Okay. Let's take a look at a scenario. Mia, a 13-year-old seventh grader, has become quieter in class and seems distracted. Last week, you overheard Mia say to her classmate, if I don't send something, then he'll stop talking to me. You approach Mia and ask, is everything okay? You mention that you have missed her engagement in class discussions. Mia looks down and begins picking at her fingers. She shares that she's been chatting online with a guy and feels pressured because he's asking for pictures that she is not comfortable with. Mia begins crying and asks if it's okay to see her counselor. Based on your role, how do you respond? We can say, thank you for trusting me, Mia. Please know you're not alone and you're not in any trouble. My role is to help keep you safe, which may mean involving other adults to ensure you get the support that you need. What are next steps? Ensure any immediate and safety needs are met. Follow your school's protocols, such as Title IX, mandated reporting. Explain what these protocols are and what may happen next. Follow your school's notification policies. Do you need to call parents or guardians? If notifying a parent or guardian is required, explain what you'll be sharing and why. Provide information and resources for additional support. Explain to the parent or guardian what happened and what steps educators have already taken. Encourage them to be supportive and not to blame their student for what happened. Offer further support. If they have questions, they can call you or another provider. As you close the conversation with the student, ask again, is there anything they need that you can help with? Let the student know you're available and ask whether it's okay if you can check in with her next week. Ask if there's a preferred time for check-in and where it can be. Now I'll turn it over to Elliston, where she will share more about the importance of creating a school-based technology-facilitated abuse safety program.
Thank you, Charisma, for highlighting the strategies that educators can use. When schools lack the necessary protocols to identify, to intervene, and provide trauma-informed responses to those who have experiences with technology-facilitated abuse, additional harm is often caused. In my situation, the school lacked urgency and responsibility. My school's lack of action showed that they were unconcerned and that they didn't have the time to address it. They didn't provide the protection, reassurance, or the security they had promised. The lack of urgency led the perpetrator to continue the abuse, giving the perpetrator more of an upper hand to continue to target, violate, and abuse other girls. Schools should have an immediate protocol for dealing with this situation. Educators need to understand what to do, how to do it, and the fastest way to do it. The longer we wait, the more children are being affected, and some children and youth are even taking their lives as a result of this. TFA is a serious situation, and schools need to take action to learn more. They need to be true to what they represent and protecting their students. It is important to recognize everyone's role in this. Potential individuals to include in the development and implementation of technology facilitated abuse safety program would be school administrators, paraprofessionals, social workers, individuals with experience in evaluation, individuals who have experienced TFA, teachers, counselors, school nurses, resource officers, and student representatives. I will let my mom talk about what schools can do.
Thank you, Elliston. When victims of TFA report to schools, we find that most schools don't even know how to handle this. The reports are not being taken seriously, and in some instances, victims are accused of overreacting. With TFA on the rise, schools need to have a clear, step-by-step action plan in place in responding to suspected or disclosed technology-facilitated abuse. Teachers, administrators, and staffs needs to educate around what TFA is, how to spot it, how to handle it when it occurs. Student code of conduct needs to address TFA and consequences for behavior. Schools should have mental health support teams in place to provide guidance and be ready to involve law enforcement if needed. Finally, it would be beneficial for schools to create a school-based technology facilitated program already. Charisma, I'll let you continue.
So as you are creating your school-based technology facilitated abuse safety program, consider work that you may have already done that are related to other types of harm, such as bullying, cyberbullying, online harassment, teen dating violence, and child abuse and neglect. The TFA safety program is not just another initiative. It is a program that is related to school climate, creating a safe, welcoming, and supporting learning environment, and is necessary for overall well-being. A school-based technology facilitated abuse safety program should include staff training. We understand what technology abuse is, know platforms and tactics used, possible warning signs, how to create a space for students to seek help, and what steps to take when suspecting or receiving reports of abuse. Student-friendly reporting options. Consider how students will report concerns and prioritize safety over punishment. Have you created an environment where students feel safe reporting? This may include adopting anonymous reporting options, having amnesty policies. Amnesty policies are designed to encourage students to seek help for themselves or their peers without fear of punishment for violating a policy. This places an emphasis on the health and safety of students versus emphasizing compliance and appropriate conduct. Connect digital safety to real life situations. Use sample scenarios that students can relate to and make the connection between online activity and risk. Clear policies. Refer to existing school district policies to create clear policies that are related to TFA. Understand mandated reporting responsibilities, student discipline policies, and become familiar with your district's school climate framework, often known as multi-tiered systems of support. Remember that TFA may occur on or off campus and still require a school response, especially when it substantially disrupts the school environment or impacts student safety or access to education. Determine how you will convey to students that retaliation for reporting is taken seriously. ensure all reports of retaliation are investigated promptly and met with appropriate consequences. Consider the protection efforts you can offer students who report retaliation, such as confidentiality, scheduling, or seating changes, staff monitoring. Those types of retaliation can really impact a student. Family education and communication. Provide education to parents, caregivers, and families on what technology-facilitated abuse is, what warning signs to watch out for, and how to implement prevention efforts in their homes and communities, and strategies for response. So student support and interventions include intentional relationship building to create a safe, welcoming, and supportive learning environment. Early, calm, supportive responses by school staff are a powerful protective factor for students. Using a trauma-informed approach. Remember, technology-facilitated abuse often shows up through behavioral changes rather than disclosure. So instead of interpreting behavior as defiance, consider what may have happened or what may be happening now. Implementing programs that build student skills and confidence, teaching young people how to report incidents, seek help from trusted adults, and understand emotional coping strategies is an essential part of prevention and providing support and guidance alongside safety measures. As previously mentioned, peer-to-peer programs can support the development of bystander strategies, encourage action, and support individual and peer accountability. Students can discourage others from sharing content, redirect harmful conversations, express concern, and show empathy when harmful messaging may be occurring. And the final component, community partnerships. Partnerships will be crucial for support and sustainability. Resources available for staff, caregivers, and students should include information about national, state, and local resources. Reporting protocols or interagency agreements should be developed in collaboration with community organizations, such as direct service providers, child welfare agencies, and law enforcement, to outline roles and shared responsibilities for keeping children safe. Anna and Elliston, are there any additional recommendations that you would like to highlight?
Yes, thank you, Charisma. Because technology is and will continue to be a part of our everyday lives, creating a safety protocol helps prepare schools to share prevention information and respond to students' needs. Having a clear action plan will help staff prepare and be confident in their responses, helping students feel safe and supported when seeking help, and to ensure that schools are also following district and state reporting requirements. When providing information to staff and students on technology facilitated abuse, TFA, be sure to include clear definitions and concrete examples. Explain what TFA is, along with related behaviors like coercion, harassment, extortion, exploitation, account hijacking, bullying, sextortion, and AI deepfakes. Scenarios that students can relate to. Use examples that students can imagine happening in real life, such as testimonies from victim advocates or input from educators, victims, and subject matter specialists. This will give students an understanding of how it could happen to them. Examples of platforms and tactics. Highlight the various apps, platforms, and communication channels that students may encounter abusers and abuse tactics. The prevalence of TFA. Explain how TFA occurs to emphasize its prevalence and why it is so important to address it now. Clear action steps also must be taken. Inform students, parents, and peers how they can help stop TFA, prevent it, handle it when it occurs. Elliston, I'll let you wrap it up.
Thank you, Mom. School-based technology facilitated abuse safety program does not have to be a standalone addition to the school schedule, and you don't need to figure it out by yourself. Prevention education can be built into existing school structures, such as health or tech classes, and integrated into protocols that already address other forms of harm, such as bullying, human trafficking, child abuse, and neglect. You also may consider partnering with advocates, victims, and other organizations that are already working in that TFA arena. Their specialties can support schools and families. Organizations like RAIN, the Rape, Abuse, Incest National Network, as well as NCMEC, the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, and the National Domestic Violence Hotline have existing resources. Thank you.
Thank you again, everyone, for your attendance today and to our amazing speakers. We'd like to invite Mr. Kevin Malone to provide some closing remarks. Kevin?
Thank you to everyone for being here today, and thank you again to our speakers for sharing their expertise and practical insights. We covered a lot, what technology-facilitated abuse looks like, how it can show up in school settings, and concrete steps that you can take to prevent harm and respond in ways that support students. If there's one takeaway, it is this: these experiences are more common than many of us realize, and how we respond matters. School-based professionals are often the first safe adult a student turns to. Your steady presence, your willingness to learn, and your ability to connect students to support can make a real difference, especially when a student feels scared, ashamed, or alone. As you leave today, I encourage you to focus on a few practical commitments. Keep building trusted relationships, talk with students about digital boundaries, and consent and reinforce that help is available. If a student discloses harm, respond without judgment, avoid blame, and follow your school's policies and reporting procedures. And remember, you don't need all the answers in the moment. What students need first is to be believed, to be safe, and to be connected to the right support. Thank you for your work that you do every day to help students learn, grow, and stay safe. God bless you guys.
Let us know how we can support your work in preventing and responding to tech-facilitated abuse with students and families. All right, well, that wraps us up for today. Thank you again. We're signing off. Take care.